So let's have a look at the Metcal GT90 soldering station. When you open the box, you will find the soldering station itself. You will find an external power supply, the handpiece, and a stand for the handpiece. Power supply is the same, I think, for the GT120 and the GT90. It's quite big and heavy, weighs a lot. Comes with a standard adapter for the power cord, which I needed to replace for the EU plug, and on the other side it comes with this proprietary connector for the station. When you look at the station itself, it is quite heavy. It's a metal case, no plastic here. On the back side you have the connector for the power supply, you have the switch and then USB connector for updating the firmware or connecting peripherals. Put the plug into here, which makes the station even deeper than it is right now. And then you do the same at the front with this connector. Yeah. Fits quite well, dust will not slip out by accident, so that's quite nice. You have this pad here, which is supposed to be used when you change tips, maybe when they are hot, so you don't need to touch them with your bare fingers. I do not really like it, but it seems to be difficult to remove it from the cord here. The handpiece itself comes disassembled, so you need to add the heater cartridge and the tip. It feels quite lightweight, has a nice rubbery holder here, but no protection for the fingers apart from being shaped a bit wider here in this part, but I have yet not found that I'm prone to slipping my fingers here. And then you have the holder for the handpiece, which is also quite heavy. It's made of plastics with some metal pieces inside of it. You have here a sponge, and here you have this press sponge inside here. Having this behind the rubber here means that you will not have solder flying around when you clean it up here, but on the other hand it means you cannot use all of the brass sponge here, only the middle part. When you buy the station itself, there will be no tips as far as I know, but for this road test we got a number of tips and I bought some additional ones. They are rather small. Let's look at one here. They will just slide over at the top here, so you just remove this screw here, remove the tip, place the other one in here, and then you screw down again and you're done. Takes like 15 seconds or so, apart from needing to cool the tip down, obviously. There is a wide range of tips available. One of the parts of my road test is comparing some of them. What's interesting is that some of these tips, especially I have these ones with chisel tips 2.5 millimeters wide, come in a standard and in a power version, and the power version is just a bit shorter, so it seems to be supposed to have better heat transfer for larger parts, and I will test that one. So when we turn on the station, it starts heating up to the temperature you did set last. It is quite fast, takes about 20 seconds or so to reach the temperature I have set here. The display itself is backlit. It's not a reflective display. What I do not really like here is that it seems to be washed out, so when it's changing quite fast it is not really crisp and you cannot really see the current value, so you need to wait until it slows down. Then we have 4 buttons here. These two are used for setting the temperature. So you press that here, and you change the temperature. When you stay on it a bit longer, it starts counting up. Unfortunately, at one point it's getting really fast in changing its value. So when you need to change your temperature, let's say more than 20 degrees or so, you should do this in multiple steps, because it will be, after about 20 to 25 degrees, it will count up or down way too fast for you to actually hit your temperature you want to have. Then we have here the menu. You can change settings for the temperature, system configuration, energy management. So for the temperature you can define the range of temperature that you allow for setting. And you also can define some presets if you want to use them. I will come to that later on. For the system you could change the language, can define a password, brightness, and you can calibrate the temperature offset. And for the energy management you can define the standby timer and the standby temperature. As far as I have seen, the standby mode works by detecting whether the handpiece gets moved around or not, which is quite nice, because it means as soon as you touch the handpiece again, the temperature will rise and you don't need to do anything else. But on the other hand, it seems to be quite sensitive, so I have seen that as long as I'm working on this desk here and it's moving around a little bit, the soldering iron does not really go into standby. One thing that's, let's say, bugging me a little bit is that you do not see the target temperature that you have defined. So when I change, for example, temperature to 220 degrees, it will go up and down, but you do not really see the target temperature that you have set. So you don't really know whether your temperature here is off by a bit or not. So the only way I have found to do here is to set these different ranges of temperatures here, so you can define presets that you might want to use. So you set these different ranges here, each one to 1. So now I have 3 different preset temperatures, 315, 325, 340 degrees, and then one also needs to define an administrator password, which needs to be different from being 4 zeros. So we go into here and we define one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and as soon as I'm doing this, you see here the logging symbol, which means all of the settings are now logged. We see the chosen temperature, the current temperature here, and the chosen temperature right at the top. So I can easily switch between the temperatures here. We see the target temperature at the top here, and we see the current temperature at the bottom here, which also means it's much faster to change, especially when you have larger temperature differences. It's much more easier to just select the target temperature, because usually I'm using just some defined temperature like 315 for normal soldering, 325 for some larger parts, and 330 when I'm desoldering really large parts, and then I'm using that one.